Hello, everyone. I want to say first, you guys are doing a really good job using InDesign and thinking about document design and publishing and visual rhetoric and all the things that you need to think about as you create documents to make them better for the users. That's the main thing we want to think about. How can we present information so that users can do the things they need to do? So that's our job when we think about putting documents together. And for project two, I know I'm a few days past Monday getting this out to you, but I think you'll still have time. The one thing I want to stress about this second project is that we are in the process of gathering information. We're working with a group called HIPS, and they work with homeless people or people affected by homelessness. Let me say something about that first. Whenever you talk about different groups, one way to be more respectful and, words have power. So instead of saying homeless people, you want to say people affected by homelessness or people who live in homeless situations. And that's true of any group. Like a lot of my research focuses on plantations and slavery issues. And so rather than calling the people who were affected in those areas slaves, the preference is to call them the enslaved or people who were affected by slavery. It gives the individual more agency and power. So in this case, as best as you can, think about, people affected by homelessness. Okay, so the HIPS is a organization here in our area. You can see the coastal Bend area, and it's Homeless Issues Partnership Incorporated. And what it is it is the different people who work at and run all the different kinds of organizations that help people experiencing homelessness. And it's a very complicated issue, like so many things. There's not one answer to helping a person who is in this situation. And of course, all the people have very different needs. So what we're trying to do to help this group is to just try to make sense of all the different ways that can be used to help people in this situation. And they came up with the label of calling it a walking path, with the idea that a person experiencing homelessness would be probably on the street and would need to walk to and through the process of finding shelter, finding help. So we are focusing mainly on finding shelter. So the HIPS organization, if you want to read more and look at their, what they have on their website, if you want to find out more information about them, they are a great group of people. They do this. They volunteer. They don't get paid to do any of this. Most people who work in nonprofit organizations are not getting rich, but it's very rewarding work. And part of what you will use to create, we're going to create two documents. What you will use is videos of meetings that the group had where they talk about the different things that are available to help people. So, but let me stress again, what you are producing is, there's a lot of information here, and so you're going to try to put it together and make sense. So don't get frustrated if you feel like you don't have this perfect solution at the end. That's not what it's all about. Just think about like we're all in a big room and we've got all these things that can happen. What are ways we can put them together to make sense? So that's what you need to think about. I'm not expecting perfection, that you're going to have the answer to everything, that it's a perfect document you're going to come up with that we can just, give out to people immediately. So keep that in mind. Okay, so Project 2, actually, you already did this first part where you gathered user information about people affected by homelessness, because I wanted you to have some idea of, what that means for these people. So now we're going to focus on the walking path documents. There's 2 of them. And let's see. Here's the process. Okay, they're going to be 2 documents. The first document is going to be for the person actually experiencing homelessness. So think of yourself, or think of someone who's actually on the street, and you're going to give them, probably it would need to be a 1 page at the most. What would that look like? How would you put it together? And this is what HIPS currently has, and I think they said that the city put it together. The big focus is on coordinated entry, and you can see this one's in English and in Spanish. If you want to do one in Spanish, you can, but you don't have to do that. But this is kind of like a pamphlet brochure, and think about how would this kind of thing be useful for a homeless person. They definitely want to update it. It's certainly old, but I would encourage you not to follow this format. And I'll show you here. We actually, in my class in the fall, we did work on it, and here are some examples of what some of the students came up with. And there's really some pretty good stuff here, but you can see the emphasis is on the visual. And see this one, they're very simple, and it's got the visual element of you're moving through. And it's very simple as far as the information. This one has some pretty good information, but this tree, it's got a tree, it's got clouds, it's got a rainbow. I really don't see how that helps the reader. That's just decoration. You're not doing this for decoration. You want to just focus on getting the information the best way that you can to the person. And then the backgrounds, the purple, it's pretty, but it's not user friendly. Now this one's pretty simple, and you can see there is a walking path. Now, it might need a little bit more explanation. Here again, think about if you are the person on the street and you want to get somewhere and get help. What would be good for you to help you get where you need to go? Now, this one, don't do the 1, 2, 3 thing. That's not really a walking path. The idea is there's some kind of visual element. It has a map, but we want it to be something where we're showing the person how to actually move through these steps. This border and the color, the contrasting colors, not necessarily bad, but this border does nothing to help the reader. And this font up here is, I think, hard to read. So just think about those elements as you're putting things together. Now, here's some examples I found from other cities where they have some of this, and I think that they're not thinking about the, here's one. They're not thinking about the actual people who are experiencing homelessness. Because if you look at something here, see, this would be what the document, because the second document you're going to produce is for these people you'll see in the video, the people who work at these organizations. So once a homeless person gets to the Salvation Army, does what they call coordinated entry, they would go to one of these other organizations. This would be good for the people in the different organizations to know what's there, because there's a lot of information there. And a person who is experiencing homelessness and is on the street, they're going to see all this, but probably not know what to do with it. They would need help. So I think this is a good example for the second document, but not for the first one. Let's see. Let's see what this one. There is a video. The problem with videos for the people actually on the street is they may not have access to see a video. Okay, now this one. Here again, I think this one would be better for the people working at the organizations. So this has a lot of information. But this is I think the layout is pretty good on this one, and you can see there are different paths to follow. So that one's not too bad, but that one would be more for the document for the people working at the different organizations. Now, see, this one's people just tend to want to put everything like this into a pamphlet organization. This one's got tons of information. Again, this would be way too much and would be something, but don't use the pamphlet organization. It's just not really useful. We don't do anything with pamphlets really anymore. That's sort of a leftover vestige from back when we did everything with hard copy, probably before most of you guys were born. But coordinated entry is what you want to focus on for the people experiencing homeless. Getting them to the Salvation Army so that they can go through coordinated entry. Let's see. Now this one, need a place to stay. It doesn't really show a walking path, but it does show a little bit of information. Some of this information might be useful for. See, something like this is, I think, would probably be helpful. Now, it may be too much for what we're doing. We're not really focusing on food. We're focusing on getting them a place to stay, a shelter. And when they get to the shelter, then there would be availability for the food. But so for this one, we're focusing on the shelter. So those are some examples to give you some more ideas as well. Okay. So for the second document, I've already talked quite a bit about that. That's for the people experiencing, or the people who work at the different organizations. And you will hear them talk about the system that they have, that if all of the organizations would use that database system, then they would be able to just do a better job and know what's going on. So you would want to definitely put that into document 2. And document 2, put that together. Use whatever you think in InDesign is a good way to put it together. It will probably be more than one page, and a couple of pages at least, I would think, because there's a little bit more there to put in. Okay, and then I put the steps down here for you. Watch the 2 videos. I haven't put the links in there. I'll put them in here. I realize now I haven't put those in there. But they're 2 videos. It would take you less than an hour. You'll want to kind of fast forward through. These are meetings, so people are muted, and you want to fast through something like that, or something goes wrong, or at the first one at the end, one guy doesn't turn off his camera. So it's less than an hour for you to watch. But I didn't put in the extra reading assignment for this week because I wanted you to focus more on this. And we're going to start moving more towards doing the work and not as much as reading about how to do it. So you'll kind of see that happening now with the work that we do. And then post your document in Blackboard by April 2nd. Do post it as 2 documents because we want to look at these separately. So Okay, well, I'm going to stop there so this doesn't get too long, but hopefully that will help. And make sure that you post your questions in the weekly questions Google Doc, and then I'll keep watch on that and, answer them as we go. And like I said, we got a lot of information here. We're trying to put it together and make it make sense. So think that way as you're working on these documents. All right. I appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing.